Lauren, take two.
Hello.
Hello. It's office hours. No. So we did a recording, screwed it up. So we started again. I'll reset. We will not start again, no matter what happens, no matter what. Lauren and I are here alone today, just mentioning that we have a push to production right now. It got hairy. Tim and 𝗏𝗏 started out in a good mood today, and we're excited for the office hours. And by the end of it, they said, Tyler, we gotta keep working on this. So Lauren and I offer no value there. Besides, maybe that's wrong. And so Lauren and I are soldiering through and keeping this habit of office hours, which this is office hours we determined was 6. Oh my God. There we go. Yeah, 10. Which is, that's exciting. That's 2 hands. And again, trying to keep this consistent. So even if Lauren, if you told me that you had something to do, I would still be here. So 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Friday. The idea of, Lauren, you said before in the previous recording, this is a really good time for reflection. We're not usually so into the thick of it, but lots of amazing changes coming into the app, and sometimes stuff like this happens. So I'll ask you one more time, anything right off the top that you want to talk about or anything you're thinking about?
Sure. There's a couple of things I want to talk about. Otter has some big news, and we also just recently put out a job posting for a marketing specialist. We've had a lot of great people come in. We're looking forward to chatting with some interesting people here. So if you want to clock into Otter first, that's cool.
Yeah, let's do Otter. So Otter, I'm going to share this right. I'm going to share that guy. Come on, Tyler, you got this. So you did it. I did it. So this is interesting. So Otter is a company that, a lot of people, because they do transcription, they just say, hey, what do you think about Otter? Or, how are you different than Otter? What is it? Is the same thing? And I remember when I first started building Speak, the first vision and concept of it was pre-pandemic and people were getting together in person. So I was at Innovation Works, the co-working space that I was at, and I kept having meetings all day, every day. And at the end of the day, I was like, man, I don't remember anything. And also I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm just gonna put a little preamble on this. I was just finding too that I was having meetings, and then I was either writing really good notes and having bad conversations, or I was having good conversations and writing really bad notes. Yeah. So I wanted to build an application that would allow me to simply record, which lots of apps for recording, but there was not a lot for actually transcribing that recording and then actually making that useful. So I'm trying to think when that was. That would have been 2017. And so I started working on Speak. It started really forcefully in 2018 at the start. And I remember the day, I'm not sure the exact date, when Otter came out. And I thought it was all over. I was like, why am I doing this? It was so beautiful. It was so precise. It was the closest thing to the vision that I had at the time. So a very sort of wow, I don't, I've invested all this money, time. I had a business that was growing before that, and really went on the software route with this beautiful vision. And then to see this company have, a similar or shared vision, but move much quicker and deploy it live was very frightening. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, or just from your own awareness of Otter, what your perspective is, or just in general, the market you're seeing and sort of transcription and meeting notes and productivity.
Mm-hmm. Well, I found Otter to be a pretty good inspiration. It really showed us the path that we were heading towards anyways, but also seemed like, we can't just do what Otter's doing because they've already done it. So we have to innovate. We have to take what is available and try and find out how that could really add value to certain people. Otter seems to be a very generic in a way, not in a bad way, more so in a way that it caters to a lot of people. But as far as what we're going for, we're more honing in on, you get a transcript, but then what happens after that?
Yeah, exactly.
What can you do to really bring more value and optimize your own specific workflow in a way? So we've been doing.
Yeah.
I think it's been very helpful for marketers especially.
Yep.
And also healthcare practitioners. They've been joyous over what we've been giving them. So it's just it's a lot of opportunity. It's a lot of opportunity to be different.
Yeah.
And it's exciting.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. And I appreciate. I think the interesting part is that I think there's a couple core differentiators that I see here. One of them being the multimedia, so audio, video, and text. Right now, the thing is they can now change things too. So right now they're focused on audio only and they strip out the video. But what I was sharing in that article, $50 million, bunch of ex-Googlers. The guy who actually, Sam Liang, the founder of that company, I believe, created the pin on the Google map, basically. Like that was his like claim to fame. And I remember the first time that was his job, yeah. And then I remember looking at his LinkedIn the one time. I'm like, oh my God, this guy has like 25 patents. I'm like, oh. So those things are very sometimes intimidating, but I think you sort of honed on something too, which is this, I don't know, there's a sort of creative flair that I think that we bring to things, and also really trying to go, not just looking at, okay, great, I want to, look at a single recording or a single meeting. What about all the meetings that you've ever done? Meetings with that same person, meetings not with that same person. What are these other things that you can learn? And I find that there's a lot of companies who want to do transcription, speech to text. There's been human transcribers forever, but it continues to generate so much information and data that sometimes it's still hard to derive value from it. It's great that you have a transcription, but that transcription could be 10,000 words. So like, what do you actually do with that after? And I think that's what we're trying to really figure out. And then how can we build the power in a democratized way for organizations like you've talked about to say, hey, I'm looking for this, or whether that's in an individual file or I'm looking for trends over time, and really helping them hone in on that and do some really powerful stuff from an analysis perspective. And then lastly, just the one that you touched on is like the marketing part, which is very fascinating. I think what we've done from the embed perspective with the insights and the transcript actually embedded, and then people, when they interact with that, helping get analytics back to the user who's actually created the embed, as well as giving a lot more options for customization, branding, what insights you actually want to display in that embeddable player and everything. So I think we're going to continue to do a lot of innovative things, and it's interesting as you move into a space, you start to see like, oh, there's that company, they're doing really cool stuff, and there's that company doing that stuff. And sometimes that's scary, but then other times it's like we had that matrix of what everyone's doing, and then you start to see where Speak really shines. And then like that is actually sort of a beautiful thing, because you realize this is such a massive market. This is so much to do with audio and media and transcription, but there's a lot more to be left to do and really make use of this information.
Mm-hmm. It seems like there's a lot of unexplored territory, and it's just going to be constantly expanding as technologies expanding and improving, and people have different needs. Like there's probably a lot more like over time as like technology advances, there's a lot of like needs and wants that just disappear, and then new ones take their place. And it's really curious to see like how it just changes all of daily life.
So much media being generated every day, like this being recorded right now, everyone's recording. It was different before the pandemic. People weren't as willing or wanting to record like meetings in person. Like you didn't have that many people who just set a phone on the table and be like, I'm recording this, I'm going to transcribe it, I'm going to analyze it, I'm going to use it to either make gather action items and insights out of it, or just to like listen back and improve myself. And now all of a sudden everything's being recorded. And even Vatchel said last week he watched the office hours back. He's like, I want to communicate better. Like that it's like that instant replay that we are so used to in sports. It becomes such a powerful asset now that things are recorded. So I think we're going to continue to see that, and see this like self-optimization as people view themselves back or hear themselves back. And that's been a very consistent thing. I don't know, like that, for example, comedians do. It's like record their sets and then watch back, and because they're so precisely listening to moments that were bad or good, or where the laughter came from. So it's interesting that or salespeople, there's subsets of people who have been doing this for a long time, but now it's starting to move across the entire world, and kind of different people who are actually doing this no matter what role they're in.
Yeah, for sure. And it's going to be constantly like new forms of communication that you're going to have to go back and reevaluate yourself. Like it makes sense for like comedians, their entire job is communication.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense for like therapists, especially. It's all about communication. But what other things are people going to be trying to improve on? Even just like it's not so much it has to do with like your job, maybe just like casual conversations. It's like maybe I want to be a more funny person. I want to be a better
Yep.
conversationalist. I want to get my point across better. So when was I doing well? When was I doing poorly? And at that point, then it becomes like, how do I improve? Like I know what I don't like, but like how do
Yeah.
I get into the zone of, this is how I want to talk.
It feels good to communicate well. Like one of my theories, I think it's a theory, is like that when people can't communicate, it's a very painful thing. Like
Mm.
it's if there's something happening emotionally inside of you, or you're working on something and you can't articulate it and people don't understand, that's a very debilitating experience. And that was one of the original passions for me around speak, and then also some of the problems that I had where I was trying to talk to people about what this thing was, and I would just look and they would just have these like glossy eyed looks on their face, and I was like, man, this really hurts. I just
Oh,
don't like that was a painful experience. And I don't whether, and now of course that's in a context of I'm trying to build something and share, but there are people who are having PTSD or trauma or pain or suffering in their life, and they're unable to communicate it properly. And just one thing I'll add to this is very fascinating was I watched this video on Reddit, and it was basically this mom who was not responding to her child, and so her child was making starting to get really upset because the mom wasn't responding. And this was all Reddit, so I have to check the validity of this, but they said that basically babies when they struggle to communicate, that's when they get upset. So a lot of parents have done sign language, so they teach their child sign language because they can't yet speak, and so they can't communicate. But when you teach your child sign language, that they can actually communicate more. So this means food, and they can actually say that instead of just crying and not being able to articulate it with words.
That's interesting. I wonder why it's easier. Maybe it's just like, I don't know, this is just throwing it out there. Maybe it's just like your vocal cords or like your tongue and like your mouth muscles haven't developed to the point that you
Yeah.
can talk properly. But that's probably some pseudoscience bullshit.
No, well, no, I think it's just something about there's like a very a normal time where human babies start developing language and speaking. But before that, there's a gap in what they're trying to communicate to their parents. And so it was a really interesting thing. And again, a Reddit comment, so check everything. If you guys are listening to this and you're thinking Born and Tyler know what we're talking about, it's not true. But yeah, I just thought that was fascinating. I think just to loop back, to this, the part, I guess we'll just try to finish this conversation off. But somehow we started at Otter and we ended up at babies communicating with sign language. It all comes around. The other part that is fascinating is like the path that you take to grow a company. And so Otter, one of the reasons why they had so much success, first of all, they spent several years building their own speech recognition system. So from what I've seen, it is much more accurate than most I've ever seen. And they've built a very intuitive way where if you make an edit, it trains the system and it gets smarter. And they've also got incredible speaker identification, which is a gap in a lot of speech-to-text systems that we see. What was really interesting, and this was something that we sort of had a challenge with, Lauren, was like, people were like, you can't market to consumers and businesses at the same time. And that was something that we heard sort of over and over again. And one of the interesting things is how successful Otter's been with that. So they actually have, iPhone and Android apps that people started using. And then someone would say, this is so impactful in my life, that then they would go to their company and say, I'm using this. Can other people on the team start using this? Or can we buy a team account? Because then I told someone else and they want to use it. So it spread very organically through companies. So that was always like one of the things that we wanted to figure out here at Speak is how can we make something so valuable to an individual that they can't help but share it with the people that they're working with, or even just friends and family. And we're getting towards that path. I think there's a lot of work still left to do, but that's something that I've always thought. And then the other path that Otter did beautifully was build a relationship with Zoom and became the default transcription company for Zoom, which is very powerful. And that's how they grew and did, transcribed over like 1 billion minutes of audio or whatever that number is. And that becomes this training data set, this playground for them to then improve their entire system. So those are a couple of things that are very fascinating from, as I've watched And, they've executed very, very professionally, just in terms of like Simon Lau, their VP of product. I remember a time if you went on Twitter and you typed in transcribe, every single tweet that had anything to do with it, there was a comment by Simon saying, "Hey, have you checked out Otter?" Like it was crazy stuff. So I think they're going to continue to see competition. Microsoft has a ton of technology, Google, Amazon, and they all want voice data. Like no one doesn't want audio and video recordings to analyze and improve accuracy. And so I'm very interested to see how this plays out, but it also speaks to this very interesting way that companies grow. So we've gone, at least to date, we had a couple offers for investment, even from some of the same firms that have actually invested in Otter, which is interesting. Can't say names, but that's sort of fascinating. But they've taken on that investment and then they've grown rapidly. I think they're at a team of maybe 40 now. I remember when they first started at 12, and then they just took an injection of $50 million in capital. So as a company who's like going much more of like an organic sort of like sustainable, like not that they're not sustainable because they're actually getting paid to do a lot of things, but like it's sort of scary and interesting, and to see like where do companies end up, one that's taking this massive venture capital growth trajectory, and then one of us who's still a smaller team that's growing sort of organically and consistently, but isn't taking on these big injections of capital to spur development or marketing or things like that. So I'm not sure if you have any thoughts around that.
Yeah, it also makes me wonder like how much like of a percentage they gave away for that too. Because $50 million, I'd imagine that they want quite a bit of say in the company. And who were these people, and how much are they going to be taking hold of the reins from them? I don't know. It's curious to see where they go from this. Because if they're also like, these same people are also coming to us, and who knows what other transcription companies they're going to. That's maybe they're trying to get some sort of monopoly. And then why? What are they trying to accomplish with this? Are they just trying to make money, or they have some evil, nefarious?
Well, they said they're trying to triple their team size and then aggressively hire and acquire. So that's fascinating. And I think you're right. Like there's this, I think with the system that they built, it's so scalable that there is this focus on, can Otter transcription touch every corner of the world? So they did a big deal in Japan to build really custom speech recognition for Japan, because Japanese language was not really spent, like there's bias in the speech recognition systems that are built because they're built by English speakers or Mandarin speakers or different speakers who are building these systems, and they're not custom tailored for certain languages. So there's a big gap there. Interesting enough, we've had actually several inquiries about people who said that Otter did not fulfill their needs and came to us because they were looking more for this analysis perspective. So I'm interested if Otter sticks to transcription only, or if they do start to do a lot more around the analysis piece that we care so much about and have already derived so much value for. So that's a story that we'll continue to follow.
Yeah, hopefully they don't just fall apart and have a whole bunch of money. They just go wild and make some bad decisions.
It's the part is where when you go through that investment route, then significant returns are expected, right? So now that they've taken on, one of our mentors said, you start on this treadmill, and then if you get on that venture capital one, you basically get on a treadmill and you don't stop running until it's done. Either you've IPO'd or you died, basically. And they don't even want you to be in the middle. They want you to be a sprint at 9 on the treadmill, and like you go until everyone gets this crazy liquidation event during an IPO, or you burn out and the treadmill breaks and everyone falls off. So they don't want someone to just drop down to a 4 or 5 speed and just jog on a marathon. Like literally that's called like zombie companies, and they don't want these companies. That means they're not going to get a liquidation event, and it's just going to be a growing company that grows sustainably. Very fascinating, the interplay of venture capital and investment and what they expect in return, and actually their desire to not even see a company become a sustainable story that doesn't have a liquidation event. So that's always fascinating. I'll add one more note here, which is like, do you want, the thing that I always hear is like, do you want to have a big piece of a small pie or a small piece of a big pie? So I'm not sure if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, it depends on what the flavor of the pie is.
Oh, damn. That's true. Wow. I hate mincemeat pie. So it's
I never had that before. That just
it's
sounds
gross.
terrible.
It's horrible. I don't know why anyone likes it, but in my mind, I thought of pumpkin, and I love pumpkin. So I'm trying to think. So that was one story. Let me see what else that we had. A couple of things. Let's go to a more fun topic. Let's see. That was actually a fun topic. That's interesting to talk about. Let's talk quickly, Lauren. We're doing some hiring right now. This is new. So I'm going to share the screen safely again. Here we go. There we go. Digital marketing specialist. So tried to lay this out. And really this comes because we have a couple new implementations starting and some new contracts that are actually very exciting that we're, very happy as an organization. And really what we're trying to figure out is, can we find a digital marketer who can fit on our team and be a good fit? So we sent this ridiculously long form out, but this has been very helpful for us to figure out like who is going to be a good fit. And I was actually very surprised. I thought we might have 50 applicants, but we're getting close, like a bunch more coming today, up to 200. To be honest, we did not have the best system to organize this. We're getting better. But I don't know if you have any thoughts on the hiring process, on what you're thinking about this, and just the whole thing in general.
Yeah, we're learning. It would be nice eventually we'll have a human resource manager, and they can do it.
Not yet.
We have plenty on our plate, but it was fun to do and see what went wrong in a way. Not a lot went wrong, really. It was just we have a lot of people to sift through here, so we have to just think about it, take our time, and I don't know. Is there anything that for all the people who may be interested in this job, is there anything that you are specifically saying, like, if you fit this criteria? Like, I know you put like your whole the ad up there and multiple ads through like LinkedIn, Indeed, but is there anybody who's maybe going to come to an interview? What do you think? What's some advice to them?
And actually, just firstly, it's like I think we did a pretty good job with the job description. And like, if it's nice to see that people actually applied and they all thought the company was good and things like that. So that's great. The things that I was looking for that I think are really important, and specifically this role or as a marketer, is like, one of the things that really stuck out to me was if you already had a website. So you're not a web designer or a web developer, so it's not like this crazy expected thing. But in my mind, if you're a marketer, you sort of have this desire to create or share, and so some of the candidates really separate themselves by having that website and just posting articles on it, posting things that they write, things that they're interested in. And so that's one of the things that I recommend, not just for this, but in general. If you are a marketer, figure out how to build a small landing page, Squarespace or whatever it is, and use that. If you can, get your name.com. That looks legit, and that's a big differentiator for a lot of people. I think for myself, it's a lot of it. I love looking at LinkedIn profiles. So people sometimes don't spend time optimizing that, but it becomes a very important thing, and it's a very quick look. Like, maybe it's not the best process, but I don't actually want to go necessarily even to look into the resume until I've actually taken a quick look at LinkedIn to see have they taken care of that. And then if there seems to be really good indicators there, then I can go look deeper into the resume and then actually some of the other things that they put. Two other things. I know you're asking specifically about the interview, but we gave this one thing was like, what interests you about Speak AI? And then they also asked, is there anything else you'd like us to know? And we left those as like open text areas. And some people put like amazing responses to both of those. Some people put not great responses to both of those. Some people didn't really even answer those.
Just left it blank.
Just left it blank. So those are really good opportunities to differentiate yourself from other candidates. And for myself, it's like, you can get if you get a text area and you're a good writer, that's such an area that you can flex that you're a good writer. So spend even a minute. And maybe, people aren't looking at us as the be all end all, they're applying for their jobs and stuff. But I think that's a nice opportunity to take advantage of. Just to get specifically to the interview part. This is interesting because there's qualities that, so one of the things I sort of going back and forth on, Lauren, is like, there's like different kinds of marketers. And one of them are, some of them are very data driven. Like, I love analytics and all that, but like, but we have you, myself, 𝗵𝗏𝗁, who are all pretty good with data and analytics. So if I really need to dig down and do analysis on analytics, then we have a pretty strong team for that already, and everything's set up quite nicely. But what we need is sort of right now is someone who can actually create content and push and actually make things. So we don't need more reports. We have enough reports. We need someone who can write well, who can communicate well, who can create social media content, who can handle complex topics like how does multimodal analysis affect the accuracy of sentiment? Like, those are complex topics. So if you don't know that default, which most people probably don't, then you're going to have to do some research and a lot of thinking to be able to generate something that is well-informed, that educates consumers, and then also satisfies more technically knowledgeable people to show that we actually know what we're talking about and writing about as well.
For sure, yeah. It just seems like that seems to be the main requirement or the main job description for all of our jobs at 𝗕liche. We're all constantly researching, reading, constantly learning and developing in some way. So a lot of freedom there. It's also you're kind of I wouldn't say drifting, but you're kind of like in an ocean of knowledge, and you don't really have a map. You're kind of out there exploring in a way.
Yes. Yeah, there needs to be some comfortability with, like, is that a word? With that ocean, like that you've experienced, that I've experienced, all of us have, where it's like, wow, this is a massive thing that we could be doing, and you just have to navigate through. And really, I mean, it comes down to also prioritizing things. It's like I could do or research or create or look at all these things. How do I decide which one is which? And I just had one other note, I think, is one thing I saw a lot with creators, specifically more creators who are marketers, is they were very good at creating, but they weren't very good at tying things back to metrics. So it's like you wrote an amazing article, but you don't understand how many people visited that page, or you don't know how many people read that article and then looked at another page, or actually made a phone call or submitted a contact form or something like that. So if you can, as a creator, more of a creative marketer, learn how to measure and then report on those things, you have a lot more sort of power in your skill set. So just something,
a lot more like proof of
exactly
able to quantify this was successful and this was not, as opposed to like a lot of marketing, I'm sure, is qualitative. Like it looks pretty, but that's also a bit subjective in a way. But that analysis just helps you, prove your case that I am a successful marketer.
Well, I saw the frustration when I was working with companies, especially at the start of 𝗕liche, who were spending all this money on social media, and they were like, we don't know if it works or not. Like a like on a Instagram post does not necessarily mean you're growing a business. So there's these surface level metrics like yay, and then there's like what actually happened here, and did anything valuable come out of it that hopefully in the end will drive some sort of business growth. And I hate distilling it down to that, but like it's also just like that's what people care about. Like if you're a business, that's what you have to do. And even from what I'm saying, like helping nonprofits care about this a lot, because they're driving on donations and support for their events. And so all of it comes down to, wow, Timothy's coming in here. All of it comes down to, can you show that something has worked or something has not worked? Timothy wanted to join today, so he's come in. Timothy.
Hello.
You're live.
Yeah, I am.
How you feeling, buddy?
Quite energized. Been looking through differences between single and double quotes, which definitely wakes you up. How are you? joining at the end of this all, but I'm sure that.
Hey, we're happy to have you. It's been a great one. I've had a lot of fun. This has been a ton of fun. So Tim, did you have anything that you want to say? We were just talking about, we've got this digital marketing role that's out, and we're talking about, you know, what is the advice that we could give to someone who's doing an interview, and then what is the difference between sort of a data analytics driven marketer versus a creator, and how they should, you know, work on merging those two skill sets to become even more effective.
Well, this is your context, of course. This is your area of expertise. I would just say that the more data you have and connections to just see what are the interactions that are being completed from the user side to the application or any part of your product, from ad to website to the app. So what did you conclude with this?
I haven't really, you came in sort of right. Basically, we're just trying to figure out what is the role that we need right now. And so it's almost sad sometimes, because you can see all these wonderful candidates and wonderful people, but you need this person to fit this thing, and you only have so much budget and so much capacity. Oh, nice. To actually so that's it. One other thing that you just said, Tim, too, that we didn't really land on is, like, if you have stats from things before, put those in. So there's a couple of people who have applied and they've said, I worked for this company and I drove an 8% increase in organic search engine rankings and increased conversion rate 3.4% on homepage to newsletter sign up. Like, that's authority just by saying that. And the fact that you actually track that through really shows that you care about the work that you're doing. And I was just saying to Lauren, like, we're really trying to focus on someone who can actually create content, because we sort of have enough data analyzers on our team. We don't need any more reports. But if you just create and you can't measure it, then there's a gap. And we need to make sure that if you have a sea of opportunities for content you can create, that you're choosing the right things and making sure it's successful for the business.
You know, one very, very interesting part of the content creation is that how our product, 𝗕CCE application, actually streamlines that, or at least attempts to, in a way of building the pipelines using Zapier integrations and WordPress post integrations. All of this is a part of this, and I believe that even these office hours, in as much as our internal meetings, all of them can be analyzed and compiled into something interesting that could go into blog posts, that could compose an interesting point of you know,
a story.
Justin would come up with hundreds of hypotheses about a meeting, and it would say silly things, and prove or disprove them about sort of what's going on in one company and what is not going on in the other company, and just analyze all of our meetings and see with real data. There are many opportunities for such a content creator to actually look into outside of Speak what we're doing with our clients, but also inside of Speak what we're doing inside of our team. And
yeah, no, it's one of the things that I'm thinking about a lot right now is just people also, people are different kinds of learners, right? Visual learners, auditory, reading, like different ways of learning. And if you can give media and formats that allows different types of learners to engage with it in the way that they truly want, it becomes a much more valuable asset. So that's, yeah, I think that's one of the things I'm trying to figure out is, like, how can we turn a conversation into knowledge, or how can we turn media into knowledge, and actually even tailor that to the kind of person who's engaging that and helping them learn and understand it in the best way.
No, that's a big one, knowledge. I mean, the part where you're looking into inclusivity of different types of just people, really. People are different. And as humans, we're definitely a very compassionate, at least for sure, we're compassionate to speak with, and we want to emphasize with our potential customers, and make sure that we're, as you've just said, the information is out there. There's a ton of it. But the way that you interface it, the way that you present it, the way that you just give back, sort of, you take it in, we import all the media, but then we're trying to produce the knowledge out of it. And the most important part is also, the most important part besides the production of analytics and insights and everything that we do statistically or using artificial intelligence, all these insights that we accumulate are supposed to be delivered to. And the way that we deliver it is such as, some people do prefer listening to audiobooks instead of reading them. Some people would prefer listening to just one chapter because of their insufficiency okay, no, I don't want to go there. But, attention deficit.
Yes, of course.
Sort of,
Yeah.
we're all very different, and there is a spectrum to everything. And making sure that we're inclusive in the way that we present the information is something that I'm truly actually interested. Let me toss you an idea. So how about we make the speak using a how about we remake Speak AI so that it all the assets and interactions are converted into a conversation manner.
Elaborate.
It's literally a conversation, a chatbot. Simplify it completely.
Interesting.
To make it so good that all the insights and all the visualizations, all the directions that we have now are ported into not just a yes or no, but rather a half visual, half, yeah.
Do you see it as an individual, an interaction with an individual piece of media or knowledge, or are you thinking querying into the entire, all of it? Yeah. We're moving towards that. We can't say the program, but it sounds like we're going to get approved and we're going to be able to move forward with this Alexa and Google Assistant integration, which is really going to build the core components of that. And we can even then put it into a much more computerized version of a chatbot as well too. So I think that's very exciting. And at the start of this, you missed out on this a bit, but we would talk, well, quite a bit actually. Lauren and I were talking about Otter and this massive investment they have, but there's just some things that we're approaching in that manner that are, very unique. And I think if we can execute properly on that, I'm glad that you guys enjoy this part about like the knowledge piece. It's like, that is a core part of what we're trying to do and accomplish, and very excited to do that through like interfaces that you're talking about, Tim, and then also voice interaction. I'm actually just excited about the embed player, which I hope Vatsal's alive and okay, and I hope he is like, I want to listen to the audio and then read the transcript, but then while I'm listening now, I've switched into the insights panel and I want to do a visualization of a chart to see what keywords were mentioned most. And it's just like seamless interaction to how you interact with data the way you want. And I just find that very exciting. And I personally find at different times of the day, depending on my mental, like cognitive load or what I did that day, I want to interact with media in different ways. So say I looked at data all during the day for our own work or a client or something. At the end of the day, I just want to sit back and watch a video or just listen to audio. And we're really presenting all those formats to people to do it, not just as different types of learners, but the mood that you're in, or even how much your mind has gone through that day.
Very interesting part is also the customization. You just mentioned the if we do land the okay, maybe I'm not should be saying that.
Just say no. We're going to move forward with it anyway. So there just might be a wonderful grant that is going to help us push the innovation quicker.
Right. So innovation using and we would develop the integrations for Alexa, Amazon Alexa, and Google Actions. Google Actions platform and the Dialogflow, which is more developer tuned platform for it's very interesting. They actually updated the infrastructure of Google Actions, which work directly with Assistant with Hey Google thing, and they have the Dialogflow, which enables you to build your own interface, such as Hey Speak, because it's a totally different, like you either integrate with an existing ecosystem such as Hey Google to phone without any app running on it. That's what Google Actions are, or you're developing your own app using Dialogflow and hooking it up, and and you talk with your app instead. But the actions will I've just been thinking about it. The way that you could produce this sound, well, in a developer the first iteration is to have the textual output. Second iteration to bring the visuals in, meaning the text plus like yes or no becomes in a nice visualization chart, and there is interactions to the insights and token. All of this is sort of that's the second iteration where it becomes visually interactive. The third iteration is to have this voiceover, and the interesting part with that is that you can synthesize that. You can synthesize it with the text to speech, and sometimes it sounds silly, but it's good. We have good models that transfer sequences of text into speech. But fourth iteration is to hire a voice actor and to actually narrate it, more or less, not the numbers indeed, but the prompts and all of this, and all the predefined phrases are to be narrated, and you sort of you become a creative director of a movie, of an interactive movie with your sort of, you're developing a persona, you're developing a scenario, you're writing out lines. All of this is a stunning process. Yeah.
Just to add on, like, the thing that I'm interested. So there's this idea of like these voice actors, and actresses, but like there's so much now voice synthesis going on. I'll just use the example. There's a company called Descript that then bought an AI research firm called 𝗫𝗫. And 𝗫𝗫 allowed you, if you recorded, I believe, up to 10 minutes. 10 minutes, if you record 10 minutes of audio, they make you say all the phonemes and everything. And now they've got your basically vocal print identified, and they can make you say anything that you want with extreme accuracy. So I thought of two things there. You're talking about all the scenarios. You could never reach that scale through voice actor. You would kill them. Their throat would disrupt. But through a voice synthesis like that, you could accomplish it seamlessly. And then I also think about, I always get it wrong, GPT-3, also generating, for example, scenarios or writing combined with voice synthesis. The amount of information that is going to be generated in not too long that we will have almost no idea if it came from a real person or not. I'll just add one last thing to this. There's a Tom Cruise deepfake that's floating around TikTok right now that is pretty stunning. I just watched a couple clips this morning, and oh my God, man, like it's so we're moving into a space, like the thing is we're hoping to do is actually create value and hopefully spur creativity with this technology in a positive way. Let's focus on that. Let's not, that's where we're focused on that, but you can see what's possible here with this kind of tech.
You guys know have you ever like played around with deepfakes at all? Have you ever tried out the technology for that?
No, I've just watched. I'm guessing you have, is why you're asking this.
No, I'm just Tim, do you know like how do you actually even know how to make a deepfake?
There's like democratized websites for it. Like there's like, it's like deepfake.com or something. Like it's not this crazy complex development code anymore. It's like people have slapped on a UI on it, and you can do it with a couple commands from a front end of an internet.
Well, more or less, technically, it goes. I know how the GAN networks are built, general adversarial networks, which essentially try to sort of. It's a game. We metaphorize it. There's a metaphor. There's a metaphor to explain this. So we have an artist and a forger. The one who tries to forge the painting, for example, of Mona Lisa. And so the artist, the original, is reality. 10 minutes of your audio, for example, or 10 hours of movies of clips with Tom Cruise. Now the forger the GAN is inside of this model. There is a reinforcement learning loop inside of it. So it's built upon it's built upon the reinforcement learning upon which all self-driving cars, for example, are made, or robotics, and the balancing robots, etc. But so it tries to get better at painting the same picture over and over again via iterations. And as soon as it becomes almost indistinguishable, we can finally synthesize something better with data which was meaning that you give it the data which exists, and you're just comparing it second to second. How does it look like? How does his face look in this particular frame? And you just paint it better next time. But then you give it a totally fresh line, or you sort of, it's very, very interesting part where they utilize ARKit, Apple's framework. They have a model just specifically to recognize the contours of your eyes and brows and nose and in your mouth, how it moves, so that you have and now that we have the lighter scanners on iPhone 12 Pro and iPad, they get it perfectly. You have the 3D mask of your face in like a 3D clip of your face, and they apply this deepfake to sort of, I would say that there is a large improvement in the quality of it as soon as we combine those two technologies, where we see the exact contours of the face and how you could apply something like a Tom Cruise's mask, or start making even better deepfakes with this tech.
Beautiful. That was great, Tim. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And I mean, that's a very complex topic to try to explain to Lauren and I. Yeah. Just one thing about that was I read this thing. I don't know the guy's name, but basically it's a learning modality, which is basically, can you articulate complex topics to a kid in 6th grade? And if you've accomplished that, then you have a true comprehension of the actual concept or technology or process. So I think you know, you did a great job there actually explaining that.
Well, it makes sense. You got to boil it down to the fundamental truths.
Yeah.
So it's not there yet.
No.
We're still developing it all, and 𝗨𝗏 is just on the other convergence of those tech. We're on convergence of voice and the knowledge, just understanding, production of those insights. It's a beautiful experience just being in here, being on the edge and the horizon of technology being developed.
But Tim, I'm sorry about this thing that you couldn't come to this meeting the other day. That, like, you know, that I can't disclose too much about it, but like that's what it felt like. We felt like it was like pioneers. You know, it felt like we're trying to land on Mars, but in our own way. You know, so and I could even see like Vatzel after the conversation came downstairs and he was just mind blown. Like, so that was a really exciting moment. I will bring you into these. We'll have more interactions like that, but I had this feeling in my heart that it's like, wow, we are really pushing some boundaries here and trying to figure out some things that are uncharted. And these are with, you know, very important people doing exciting things. So it's a wonderful, wonderful moment. And to see how much the work that we've done, that for years people sort of said like, why are you doing this? Or this doesn't make any sense. Or like it all came together in an hour. So it was very exciting moment. I'm not meaning to make you jealous, Tim. I'm sorry. It was, I just wanted to share. It's beautiful. I'm sorry, I should have said that. It was just, it is that's what's happening with some of the people that we're working with right now and the way that they're applying this technology. It's going to be used in ways that can truly change people's lives. And it feels very exciting to be a part of that. Yes.
Definitely is part of being and just being a customer of 𝗨𝗏, and we do very much appreciate all the feedback that our customers give us, because we're growing with you if you're listening to this and utilizing our app. And if you haven't given us feedback, do it, because your opinion is something that makes us grow, and
we care. We actually really care. And I know that we really do. And I know how much when we hear from someone, we actually take that deeply into consideration and try to figure out what we can do. Tim, you came in a little bit late to this conversation. Lauren and I have been going here for a good hour. So I think we do want to try to wrap this up. I had 3 things, unfortunately, that we're not going to go to in depth, but just to share quickly and get this, you know, this is, I hope I've done this right. Lauren, I'm nervous. Already had a false start on our.
We had to start over.
We had to start over. We're only a couple minutes in. This is interesting, and I don't know if you've seen this at all, Tim, but Google first Canadian. I think this is in Canada. Yeah, so Google for Startup Accelerator. So they picked 10 companies to go in here. We were actually just under eligibility. I think you had to have 5 full-time employees, but some very interesting companies in there. And just, you know, some, you know, for anyone, I'll drop this in the link underneath the video, and some fascinating stuff. And obviously, if Google's they're not investing in these companies, but they're doing a lot of technical due diligence and work and support, and see some good people that we know, some friends, and some very interesting platforms. One of them that I really love is Toronto-based company 𝗲𝗲𝗁. So they're using speech analysis to give parents insights on their child's speech development. Just such a beautiful use case for some of the technology that we're also passionate about and working on. And it's great to see, like, this is some of the most focused, biggest leaders in this space. And we were actually part of the Amazon Alexa accelerator mentioned in this, which was very interesting. And we'll see how this continues to emerge. And then lastly, on this side, this was just great. I'm still not exactly sure how I feel about the name of this, the title. That's okay, but Indie Hackers is an amazing website that that we've been big fans of. I remember 𝗲𝗁 first listed us on this, and this was a point where I didn't know how 𝗲𝗁 felt about transparency of our company, where I was like, I sort of just want to share everything, and I don't know how you feel, 𝗲𝗁. And then he went forward one day and just put this Indie Hackers, which is basically document your growth in public, and you find a supportive community around that. And what was amazing was we just sort of listed on the site, but they saw all the updates and everything that they were doing, and they actually reached out and published an article for us. So really, it's a great read. I'll share this in. It's fascinating, and it was they interviewed me, but we got to talk about the team, talk about the roadmap. Also got some wonderful links back to our site and a little bit more about our story and everything, and even some of the tech and everything. So pretty exciting moment for us. And this is a big company connected with Stripe, and to just get this feature was really awesome. So I tried to make sure to shout out all our friends that we could, and yeah, hope some good stuff comes from it. So it just got shared not very long ago. So I'm pretty excited about that. So those are just a couple of last things that I wanted to wrap up on. So much more. We've got some in-app recording coming soon. We've got a Google Chrome extension coming. There's a lot of crazy, exciting stuff coming. As long as 𝗲𝗁's okay. I hope he is. Lauren, Tim, anything that you wanted to get off your chest or say before we wrap this office up? And Tim, I'm glad you joined. Come in anytime. Lauren and I were happy. We were having a great conversation, but it felt sad to not have you and 𝗲𝗁 here. So I'm really happy you came in and popped in and said hi.
No, thanks for having me. We've been quite deep this couple of last weeks. We've been quite deep into bringing together our transcription services, which we do hope are best on the market. Took us a bit of effort. Missing 𝗲𝗁 too. We need him back.
Need him back. Yeah. Lauren, anything you're thinking?
That's too bad about that horrible car accident that took our dear 𝗲𝗁.
Don't say that. Don't even put that juju. I always used to say, what happens to Speak AI if 𝗲𝗁 gets hit by a bus? And he's like, Tyler, stop saying that.
I'll never take another bus as long as I live.
Exactly. So no, 𝗲𝗁's still alive and pumping, but I can tell that look when he's like zoned in and he just wants to figure something out. And when someone's in that zone, and that goes for you guys too, anytime you feel that way, just let us know, because it's like we all know that we've got the best intentions at heart. We're just trying to get things done the right way. So okay, guys are good.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, this was a ton. Yeah, they're fun. Glad we got that false start out of the way, Lauren, and we did it. So this was I'll get it right this time. Number 6, office hours number 6. Thank you for everyone who watches these or joins. This has been a ton of fun, and I don't know, like, I'll just say one last thing, but like, Tim and Lauren, like, you guys, what I think is so fascinating is Lauren maybe a little bit more, is you're sometimes this like sort of introverted, sort of non-public person, and then Tim in his own way as well too. But we rally here in these conversations, and it feels like we're just having normal conversations that we get to have. And I'm really appreciative that you guys have like gone beyond that and just sit and enjoy these conversations. It really means a lot to me, and I'm excited to see the growth that we've all had together.
Yeah, no problem. It's been a lot of fun. Looking forward to more.
Beautiful. Tim, good. Okay, guys,
All right.
I'll see you soon. Have a good afternoon. Have a good weekend, everyone.
You too. Take care.